Hey everyone, welcome to NEA Report on a very busy Tuesday afternoon. I'm Stan Morris, and we are watching a number of different things take place, including a live hearing that's happening on the matter of Facebook and Facebook security on Capitol Hill right now. Mark Zuckerberg has been getting grilled this afternoon. We actually shared the link earlier. We were going to continue watching that, and we will be to try to bring you a full wrap-up of what all comes up, but if anything. But I thought the most interesting takeaway, and I'm sure as soon as all of my friends in chat that are joining us now hear this, they're going to think this is crazy too. You better get ready for a paid Facebook because it's coming. What happened this afternoon was Zuckerberg said, his exact quote was, there will always be a free version of Facebook. But when he said that, he was being asked about a future possible paid Facebook. So, amongst all the other things we're hearing today is that there's probably going to be a Facebook Premium coming. The idea being that you sign up for that and you don't have to give all of your information away for free, right? We'll see what comes of that. We're still watching that. That's still underway right now, but we want to get to the local headlines of the day, and we're doing that right now on NEA Report. Here we go. Thanks for joining us on NEA Report tonight, and let's first run through the top headlines. A camp director in Northeast Arkansas is facing a video voyeurism charge after he allegedly confessed to planting a hidden camera inside of a woman's home, targeting an adult female. It was said to have taken place in Searcy, Camp Wilderwood, where White County Sheriff's deputies were dispatched on April 6th to deal with the case. They said that a suspicious device was found inside of a cabin on the property, and after further inspection, it was set to record. During the investigation, they made contact with the suspect, the Camp Wilderwood director, Robert Powell. He was reportedly said to have confessed concealing the camera in the tenant's home, intending to target an adult woman. The victim said she had no knowledge of the camera. Detectives don't think any other recording devices were planted at the camp. Of course, the first thing you think about when you hear about this is the paranoia goes through the roof of, am I being recorded without my knowledge? Because if one person was, it becomes less crazy to think that another might be. Authorities combed through the camp, and they said they found no other video recording devices. They said the board of directors for the camp had been extremely cooperative. And so they have charged this man with one count of video voyeurism. His bond set at a mere $2,500. It's believed to be a solitary incident, according to the press release. Some positive news to report now, and from Williams Baptist College, a new academic program, or three, are actually coming to Williams, what will soon be called Williams Baptist University. First of all, a second master's degree, a Master of Science in Education, will be joining the Master of Arts in Teaching degree. And then from graduate programs down to the undergraduate degrees, a bachelor's degree in Criminal Justice and Marketing are being added as well. Williams launched their first graduate degree last year, as I mentioned earlier. That's the Master of Arts in Teaching. Two new undergraduate degrees will bring the total now to the Lawrence County College to 27. Of course, it's going to be the Lawrence County University pretty soon. Senator John Boozman has issued a rare statement where he is speaking not against, but more cautionary tone toward the Trump administration. He is cautioning against the railroading of the agriculture industry in exchange for holding China accountable with threatened tariffs. Take a look at his statement. He said, quote, China refuses to play by the rules of international trade. As legislators, we have the duty to create policies that achieve a level playing field for American businesses. However, that can be accomplished without descending into a trade war, he said. The escalation in trade rhetoric alone is negatively affecting markets and creating uncertainty, especially for Arkansas's number one industry, agriculture. For the past 5 years, Arkansas farmers and rural families have been struggling with low commodity prices, high input costs, and non-tariff barriers to trade. Now retaliatory tariffs are part of that list. This amounts to kicking farmers when they're already down. That's what the senator said. He went on to say that we can appropriately hold China accountable for its unfair trade practices without holding our agriculture industry hostage. He said, I will continue to express to the administration, the Trump administration, how important it is to help ensure that our nation's farmers, ranchers, and producers do not suffer while we work to establish responsible reciprocal trade with China and our other trading partners across the globe. Some good news in Cleburne County, where authorities there are now going to be equipped with the very important life-saving drug known as Narcan. If you're not very familiar with this, let's put it like this. In the press release sent out by the Cleburne County Sheriff's Office, they mentioned that just while doing certain drug arrests and drug searches, that they could potentially be exposed to a deadly amount of fentanyl. Just the stuff that flies up in the air when they're picking it up or collecting evidence could be deadly. Well, this is something that will potentially help save their life. It could also potentially be used to save the life of somebody who has suffered a drug overdose, even if it was by their own means, to get them the life-saving help that they need in the hands of the deputies that are on the scene is the potential for life and death. It's the difference between those. And so those drugs have been issued to other deputies across the country with great success being marked after that. Now Cleburne County joins the list. We told you about the story last night, the absent JP, Ken Stacks, from Craighead County. Well, we told you there was an update planned, and sure enough, last night at the quorum court meeting, an update occurred, and the county judge's assistant, Tony Thomas, said that Ken Stacks has agreed to resign by the end of this month. The expectation now comes that next month official action can be taken to declare the position vacant by the Craighead County Quorum Court. It'll then be referred to the governor to be filled. Thomas said that he had spoken with Stacks yesterday afternoon. One of the concerns was because Stacks has been out for 9 months and he's been ill. One of the concerns was if we take his insurance away, are we really going to be hurting this guy? And they found out that he did not need the insurance. So it's now being reported that the expectation is his resignation, according to what Thomas said last night, is that he is going to Stacks will resign at the end of this month, and the expectation is next month the ball will begin rolling on filling that seat, that position on the quorum court, which has been vacant for about 9 months now. Let's take a look now at your New Wave Wireless weather forecast, home of the $49 iPhone screen repair. We do have the potential for some storms headed our way this weekend, but we have a nice week until then, maybe except for a little bit of breezy wind stuff out there, if you don't like that. Of course, it feels kind of nice outside, too, but it might be a little bit annoying if you're trying to, participate in outside activities, so just keep that in mind. It's mostly sunny for us today with only a high near 51. It was chillier today. With a 39-degree low tonight, we're going to see temperatures get kind of cold with mostly clear skies. But tomorrow, we're jumping up to the high near 70 and sunny skies. Breezy, though, with up to 25-mile-per-hour wind gusts. Mostly clear tomorrow night, a low around 52, and then a high near 78 for Thursday with sunny skies. Breezy as well on Thursday. Then Friday, a 50% chance for showers and thunderstorms, and mostly cloudy skies, a high near 77. Breezy on Friday, too. Showers and thunderstorms are likely Friday night, and that's when we're really going to be watching for some severe thunderstorm potentials that we have seen the Weather Service warn us about as a possibility coming up this weekend. We'll cut in and let you know if anything starts to break out, just like we did last time. So Friday night's low is going to be near 60. Saturday, a 50% chance for showers and thunderstorms and a high near 67. It looks like Sunday you've got a chance for some showers too, but it's a slight chance. and otherwise partly sunny skies. That's looking ahead outside of the 5-day forecast. Now, it is going to get a little colder when Sunday rolls around with a high in the mid-50s. Right now in West Jonesboro, it's 52 degrees with mostly cloudy skies, humidity around 57%, and the winds, gusting a little bit. Looks like around 18 mile per hour wind gusts with steady northwesterly winds around 10 miles per hour today. Let's take
Haley Norris, realtor. Should I make my hair go like this? Whether you need to buy, sell, or lease. Haley, can I use my hands? Or is that, where are my hands? Where do they go?
Just say
Haley.
Just say Haley.
Whether you need my expertise. Haley Norris, realtor. Or even do a commercial lease. Haley Norris, realtor. Should I say Remax Real Estate Center or no? Is that too salesy?
No, that's it.
My average days on market is just 50 days. You need my expertise. And that means I'm putting more money back in your pocket.
Brothers Flooring on Highway 67 South in Pocahontas has all your flooring covered. Stop by our showroom Monday through Friday 8 to 5 and see all we have. Carpet with pad and install starting at $16.50 a square yard. Laminate with pad installed starting at just $3.25 a square foot. Every name brand of engineered and solid hardwood from $5 a square foot and up. Waterproof vinyl planks, wood look and tile look, attached cork pack starting at $3.49 a square foot installed. Ceramic and porcelain tile of all sizes and all colors. We build custom tiled showers from the floor up shelves and benches, tub surrounds, kitchen backsplashes like no other. Brothers Flooring, Highway 67 North in Pocahontas. Call today, 870-892-2525.
We had a website that we had had for a number of years. It had become unwieldy to navigate. Ace One said, give me a little time and I'll come up with something and just see what you think about it. It blew us away. Ace One and his staff have given such close personal attention and outstanding customer service, just as if we were $1 million company. I just can't say enough good things about them.
On the phone right now with George Jared, who wrote a very powerful story over the last 24 hours that we shared on NEA Report, the story pertaining to the Elaine race riots. And you'll see on the full screen that I've put the word riots in quotations, because based on some of the descriptions of the events, they were less riots and more massacres. It's a dark chapter in Arkansas history, and George Jared sat down and did the research on it. And George, how long did that take you? Because I've wanted to get into that for a while, and it looked like you did a great job on breaking the story down.
It took me a while. I kind of like you. It kind of had been in the back of my mind to do a story about it. I can tell you right now, I was absolutely shocked. The estimates of how many people were killed during that 4-day period are anywhere from, 20 all the way up to 800. And it could be the worst mass killing in the history of the United States.
It's a situation where, it's not been documented. And you have stories like Jamestown, which were documented, one of, I think, the largest mass suicide or mass killing of American-born citizens, which, of course, that took place on foreign soil. But you're talking about numbers pretty close to that right here. And you're talking about it on, on a totally different level and at a different time in history. Talk us through it. First of all, what was the basis of the dispute that you found in your research?
Well, what happened in 1919, it was the year after World War I ended, there were a lot of factors that that summer was called the Red Summer, because there were racial altercations in bigger cities like Chicago and Washington, D.C., and a lot of other places around the country. And basically what was happening is, you had a lot of black soldiers coming back from the war. And it was we were getting to a boiling point where black people wanted equal rights with white people.
Sure.
They were tired of segregation, and so these riots started in several different places. Now, what happened in Elaine, and Elaine's a tiny little town kind of in the middle of Phillips County, which is kind of out in the middle of nowhere, right in the Mississippi Delta region. It abuts the, Mississippi River. Helen is the capital there. Well, what happened in 1919 was, started off as a good thing. Cotton prices for farmers went dramatically up. And so, in counties like Phillips County, where cotton was still king, you had a lot of plantations down there, and the black sharecroppers picked the cotton for the white owners, and the sharecroppers, end of September, you're in the harvest season. They weren't getting the benefit of these increased prices. They were getting the same, and so they met in church on September 30th, 1919. And there was about 100 people inside. They had armed guards outside, and basically what they were going to do is they were trying to figure out what to do to compel the farmers to pay them more. And and you start hearing things like maybe they wanted to start a union or something like that, whatever. And while this meeting is taking place, and 2 or 3 white men approach the church, and they're armed, and no one knows for sure who fired the first shot. It's a mystery that is lost to history, but shots were fired, and a county deputy, a white county deputy, was among the men that walked up on the church. He's killed, and then another guy was injured. And so what happens is when you're talking about that part of Phillips County, the black to white ratio was like 9-1, or maybe even higher.
Wow.
And so immediate panic set in with the white populace. They thought that these black sharecroppers were going to form an army and start, killing their landlords. And so what happened is you had a bunch of armed white people within 24 hours just pouring into Phillips County. They came from as far away as Tennessee and Mississippi, and literally they formed it was like 1,000-man armed army. They were all armed. And they went into the town of Elaine, and they just started slaughtering people, shooting them in their yards, killing them in their houses, hanging them from trees. It was 100% carnage.
I'm looking at some of the newspaper articles from the time right now, some old archive stories, and as one example of the total bias that existed around that time. One of the articles, and I'm bringing it up on the screen right now, is that it says, quote, "Vicious blacks were planning great uprising." It wasn't a time where this stuff was covered even very fairly in the news, was it?
Not at all, and that's part of the problem. The reason that we don't have good information about this event is because there was such bias in the news reporting. Number one, because that's a rough draft of history. Every day is written in newsrooms all around the country.
That's right.
And it was very, very biased, obviously. And also those articles, they led to the fury that surrounded it, like and the panic, because they kept writing these stories about this uprising. And the more they wrote about it, the worse it got. And so, and it was so bad. I mean, so many people died. I mean, here's the thing of it is, I think I've heard that we've been able to confirm 10 identities of people who actually died, 5 white, 5 black. But I've seen other stories, like on PBS, where they were able to identify up to 25. But historians know that at least 200 people died during this. That's the very minimum number. And a lot of bodies were dumped in the Mississippi River. They were buried. They were hidden so that nobody would know. And the decimation to the black community in Elaine was so complete during this 3 or 4 day period that they never talked about it. And a lot of them moved away. They never talked about it. And then by the time, society finally realized, hey, we need to know what happened in Elaine. A lot of the people who were there and experienced it were either dead or gone, and so there just wasn't a lot of information that came out. It got to the point where even the governor of Arkansas at the time, he had to call out, soldiers to go to a lane to stop this mob. And they stopped the mob, but then the soldiers put over at least 200 black people into a temporary holding camp. And there are lots of reports that they were tortured and abused and all these things because they were trying to get confessions out of them to try to figure out, if they committed any crimes. And this is the most astounding thing about this, other than it could actually happen here in our state, is that when it was all said and done, there are hundreds and hundreds of black people dead. There were 5 white people who died during all this. 122 blacks were charged with crimes. 12 were charged with capital murder. They were convicted and sentenced to death. Not a single white person was charged with a crime in this entire thing.
On the screen right now, we're looking at a photo, as you mentioned, while the African-American detainees were being held. This is a photo of a schoolhouse in Elaine at Phillips County in October 1919, photo courtesy of Pat Rowe. This photo was a schoolhouse that was transformed into a temporary stockade to hold African-American prisoners. It really must have transformed the entire community. I'm presuming the whole town, the whole area, the whole county must have been just in a panic at this stage.
Well, and if you can just look at the census data, from back then, like I said, that part of Phillips County was 9 to 1, 10 to 1. I looked at the census data the other day just to kind of get an idea of how the demographics had changed in that area. And it's 50-50 now. And the place is very depopulated. There's not, the town obviously is not growing. It doesn't have a school anymore. So this event, it really, it scarred that part of Phillips County for many, many, many years. Now, the 12 guys who were convicted of capital murder, they were eventually let go. There was a black lawyer, and forgive me, I cannot think of his name right off the top of my head, but he represented them in their appeals process, and eventually he was able to secure their freedom. The NAACP was involved in that as well.
Was it the lawyer by chance? Because I've just pulled up a photo. It's almost like I'm reading your mind right now, and I promise we didn't coordinate this as nearly well as it's looking on the air, but I pulled up a photo just now of 6 of the defendants along with an attorney. I think Scipio A. Jones is the name I'm reading.
That sounds correct, yeah. Okay.
And this photo, courtesy of Butler Center for Arkansas Studies, Central Arkansas Library System. It's the Elaine Massacre defendants, Ed Hicks, Frank Moore, J.C. Knox, Ed Coleman, and Paul Hall are the men that we're looking at on the screen. Men dressed up, they with appropriate looks, smiles on their faces in some cases. It looks like it was a lot of tensions that just exploded on each side, but I'm thinking it was more on the side of the unfair Caucasian, the unfair white, individuals who, based on what the research indicates, black men and women were not being paid correctly, even all these years following the freeing of slaves. In one of the newspaper articles that I had read, that I pulled up and was doing some research on this too, it said that a quote from one of the farmers was that you never tell, and he used a bad word, so I won't use that, but he said you never tell a black person the accounting, you never show them the books, or he indicated you would ruin everybody in America. In other words, every person that wasn't being paid fairly would want to be paid fairly, and that seemed to be the very basis for all of this, which is not a good, not a good earmark for history when you take a look at if what caused it all to begin, what caused the initial arguments were black people standing up for what's right. It's impossible to look back at this and say that in any other way, than to say it appears like a horrible case of racism and savagery in our state.
Absolutely. And Stan, here's the thing, and I was talking to Jason Hendren. He's the chairman of, the Arkansas History Commission. We had a conversation about this the other day, and, one of the things that he said to me that stood out to me. He said, George, do you ever remember hearing about this when you were like in the history books when you were growing up? And I told him, I said, no, I really don't. And so we haven't really talked about this in the state of Arkansas much. I think a lot of people who are at some level of education and interest in history are aware that it happened. I can tell you right now, I write a lot of stories about historical events and historical people in and from Arkansas, and I was shocked when I found out that this could be the worst massacre on U.S. soil by, especially in the context of a racial strife. Yeah. I was shocked. I mean, it really shocked me. And of course, part of the reason I wrote the story, put the story out yesterday, is today they're actually breaking ground on a memorial that will be in Helena to memorialize the victims of all this. Wow. And they're hoping to have the memorial completely done by September 29th, 2019, which is next September, a year from this next September. They're hoping to have dedicated the day before the 100-year anniversary of the start of the riot.
On the 50th year after the death of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., I think that it's appropriate that as both journalists and as a society that we take a look at the areas where we messed up. Let's say it like it is, the areas where our society failed. And this is something, as you mentioned, aptly so. I never heard about it in history books growing up either. This is not something that I can remember being taught about in school. I can remember being taught about in the 5th grade, Miss Chester, who gave us detention when we didn't get our homework done. I can remember us being taught about hieroglyphics. I can remember us being taught about, even on Arkansas history, the Civil War. But this happened within the last 100 years, right? I mean, we're 99 years away from this. And it's almost as if it's just ignored. And so I hope that your amazing story that's at talkbusiness.net right now, and I hope also with what the community is doing there in order to honor and remember this, I hope this makes this a more discussed and thought of incident, because I don't think, again, as white Americans, most of us even try to consider what it's like being an African American in a part of the world that less than 100 years ago murdered, hundreds for because they stood up for themselves to try to get paid fairly. And so
I mean, hundreds murdered, Stan, and not a single person charged with a crime.
It's shocking. But it is a discussion that I think is worth having. George Jarrett, I appreciate you, sir, for talking to us and taking some time to tell us about this. This story is at talkbusiness.net. When is the dedication taking place? I'm sorry, you probably told me already.
They're going to try, I think it's slated for September 29th, 2019.
Okay.
I think they want to try to have the memorial done the day before the actual 100-year anniversary of the start of the riot.
Makes sense. That makes sense. Next year will be the 100th year anniversary of the Elaine Race Massacre, as it's called. It's called by some the riots, but I think one of the appropriate, steps that we should take as journalists is maybe to put that term in quotations, or at least to bring it up, just as we did here, that riots, generally speaking, are not what you would call one group of people killing hundreds of others. But I don't doubt that there were probably some riots that broke out after all of this began. I mean, how could they not? Whenever you start to take a look at some of the results. It's an incredible story. It's incredibly difficult at times to read, but it's incredibly important for us to remember, especially during these times. And George Jarrett, thank you, sir, for taking a couple of minutes to talk to us, and we will be reading more about this going forward. Thank you.
You're very welcome.
4:15 in Jonesboro right now, and we want to tell you a couple of events on the community calendar before we head out the door today on NEA Report. First of all, on Thursday in Paragould from 9 a.m. to noon at the Goodwill Career Center, 2808 West Kings Highway, Pico Foods, our friends there, will be hosting a job fair. Bring your resume, bring your smile, bring yourself to a new career at Pico Foods. Well, the Armed Services Blood Drive scheduled for April 17th and 18th, 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. at the Military Science Building, ASU campus, sponsored by Jonesboro E911 and the city of Jonesboro. And tabletop games happening in the International Tabletop Day, April 28th. It's at the Craighead County Jonesboro Public Library, 10 a.m. to 5 p.m. You can find out more information about all of these stories at NEAReport.com. We are watching for a potential for severe weather this weekend. There is the chance that it's going to happen for us on Friday night. A little into Saturday, too. We'll be here if that happens. If severe weather breaks out on Friday the 13th, NEA Report is going to break in. I'm Stan Morris. Thanks for joining us tonight on NEA Report. We'll invite you back tomorrow for more news from Northeast Arkansas. Until then, we hope you have a great evening.